Let's download GameMaker and try to make a Terraria clone today. It says it's completely free. Wait, I've seen this game. Forager? Forager? Why would I want to install the Opera browser? Project name? Terraria, of course. First we need a tutorial, and this one looks promising. Halfway through it, they want me to hit play. And look how tiny the game is. This is what I made from the 15-minute tutorial. Landing on the spike resets the level, catching the flag moves you to the next level. And this is what Terraria looks like. This is our goal. The world is created with all of these blocks. I calculated I would need to show around 8000 blocks. In the same project I created a world with 8000 blocks. I made a screenshot of the player so I can use it in my project. I imported him in GameMaker and put him in the empty room. For terrain, I reused the blocks from the 15-minute tutorial. The script is as simple as it gets, so no need to go over it. I think I managed to roughly replicate the world. To get the walk animation, I played the recording, screenshot each frame and remove the background. Once I reached the third frame, I decided to search online and look what I found. I imported the walk animation from the internet sprites. And there is our player walk animation in the game. For a simple camera, I followed this 7-year-old tutorial. I just had to enable viewport 0 and set the camera position every frame. For animating walking to the left, I just flipped the sprite. Comparing with the original, I will need to find a lot more sprites. This guide on creating and installing texture packs says I could possibly extract Terraria's textures. But wouldn't it be easier if I just downloaded a texture pack? How can I do that? Okay, I need to subscribe to the texture pack. I found a pack in the workshop, subscribed to it, and it downloaded something. But where are the texture files? All I can find are proprietary files. Okay, check this out. If you go to workshop, content, few more folders, and there, look at all these sprites. Boys, we struck gold. Look at all these tile maps. This one is for the stone. I looked through the texture pack and cannot find any sprites for the background. If only there was a texture pack just for backgrounds. I think we're eating good tonight. Look at all of these backgrounds. For the parallax scroll effect, we need to use multiple backgrounds. Okay, I feel dumb. One simple Google search showed the backgrounds. As I imported them, they do look quite narrow, but enabling horizontal tile solved the issue. I added a sky color behind them. How do they look? I need to zoom out the camera and add one more background. Something like this. It's the 6th tower and it already looks so cool. I imported the 3 most important tile sets. Why in the world is the first tile missing when it shouldn't? So the first tile needs to be left blank and I cannot change that. I will just add more space to the left of the tile set. And now I have access to the first tile. This is the goal, auto tiling. I remember watching this guy. I have to create a template and match each of the tiles with it. I need a bit more guides on how to figure this out. I found this wiki for creating mods. The template for tile sets helps me a lot to figure out how they work. And of course, I finally got it working. There is a simpler auto tile template, but it doesn't have a match for this tile, for example. On the other hand, the bigger template has too many options. These 2 rows I have to fill with the same tile. I added the 2 other tile sets, grass and stone. And we have one big problem. They don't combine. And there is an even bigger problem. The tile sets are on separate layers. I will combine them to be on one layer. Now they are on one layer in the actual game. I have the sprites to combine stone and dirt. But I doubt it's possible for all of these tile sets to interact. When searching for an alternative, this person says it's possible to create your own auto-tiling system using bit masking. He mentioned an article about bit masking. I guess I'll be making my own auto-tiling system. The first example is with just 16 tiles, then a one with corner tiles, but still only one terrain type. And the final one is just 2 terrain types. And with the default auto tile system, I don't know how to collide with it and dynamically change it when mining. So I changed my mind. We will move on using a single sprite for dirt and a single sprite for stone. I imported the swing animation. There he is, swinging when I hold the mouse button. Added iron pickaxe, but how to attach it to the player? Look at how the axe teleports with the hand. How is that possible? When swinging, I now output to the console the current index of the animation. It's a floating point number from 0 to 4. When it's 0, the axe should be down, but then straight up. Maybe I messed up the order of the sprites. The axe starts from the top. First frame has to be hand up. Like this, starting with the hand up, ending down. I found a tutorial on how to attach an item to the player. The axe is showing when swinging. I just need to set 4 rotations for it and loop through them. And there it is. Now I need 4 positions so it's not always at the shoulder. For each frame, I just move the origin of the sprite to where the hand is to see where the axe should be. And there it is. Maybe I'll also remove the last frame where the pickaxe is below the player. I removed the default cursor and set its sprite to the Terraria one, which is just 2 frames, and I've set the speed to low. But in the game, the animation speed is going absolutely wild. But this tutorial makes an object for the cursor and syncs the position. The animation speed now looks great. But looks nothing like the original one in Terraria. It's just the first frame with red color and white outline. For the outline, I found this 8-year-old tutorial that uses a fragment shader to achieve it. Instead, I just did everything in Aspirite manually. And here it is, I made it to grow and shrink. I use sine of the current time to determine the scale. There is this website that visualizes your Terraria world. I will use it to help me for the terrain generation. And the world coordinates start from top left as 0, 0 and end at bottom right with 4200 width and 1200 height. Times 16 gives me these big numbers for the world room. And look how huge it is now, that's what she said. Sadly, filling the space with blocks lags the game. I saw Cakes on stream using this program for Stardew Valley. Naturally, I downloaded it and got it working on Terraria. Look at how every frame the player has to be formed. This is the formation of the terrain. I want to see how much of the terrain gets rendered. Look how it draws the grass with the grass tile map, then the dirt with the dirt tile map, and finally the stone with the stone tile map. This is the whole terrain rendered. Only what is visible to us, nothing outside. I also found this amazing mod that visualizes the world creation, step by step. I can pause at any stage of the world generation, from the list to the right, and look as much as I want. This is the first stage, just the grass and stone. Let's try to replicate it. To generate the terrain, developers usually use Perlin noise. GameMaker doesn't offer access to Perlin noise by default. Using this Python script, I generated a Perlin noise texture that I'll use in GameMaker as an alternative. Imported the Perlin noise in Unity so I can visualize the generation there, and then made a script that creates a game object for every block. For 10 by 10, it works perfectly, but for 4200 by 1200, it is too slow. Instead, I'll use one game object and edit its texture through code, pixel by pixel. This will be the visualization of our terrain generation. We have our sky, dirt and stone for now. On startup, I create a new texture. If the pixel is below 800, I set it to stone, and you get the idea. To get the Perlin noise, I just check the color of the pixel on the same X coordinate. Here is how it looks like using the Perlin noise. And of course our goal is something like this. I made the texture update in real time so I can try to better match it. With one change, I made the terrain visualization way faster. Before I would update the texture for every block. Now I update the texture only once by giving it an array of colors. I can change the octaves of the Perlin noise now. It's interesting Terraria has this Perlin noise texture in its assets. And this is the possible terrains I get using it. And this is the final Perlin noise texture now generated from Unity. Some time passed since, let me get you up to speed what happened. These red things are my first attempt for a chunk loading system, and below me is the terrain generation I showed previously. Sadly, there is no way in GameMaker to read a pixel from a texture. The idea was to get pearly noise in GameMaker by importing it as a texture. To solve this, I had to draw the texture on screen and check the color of a pixel of what is currently drawn. Then I create the chunk objects that cover the entire game world. When a chunk becomes visible, it will create its part of the terrain. Now chunks can unload by deleting the instances it has created. I found this article that shows code snippets for a popular GameMaker game. This is exactly what I need. I needed it because I just check if a player collides with a chunk. I tried to check collision with chunks visible to the camera, but it's not working. Instead, they do the opposite. They check for each object if it's visible to the camera. I made the chunk object sprite invisible. And there we have it, Terraria. Look how awesome the chunk loading and unloading system is. For some reason I collide with these strange invisible blocks and the backgrounds are gone. But I managed to quickly bring back the backgrounds. Sadly, my 20-hour limit is up. We have to stop here. If I had more time, I would focus on the sprites for the terrain instead of having this single dirt sprite, and then I would focus on block breaking and placing, etc.